All right, we'll call the November 17th meeting of the West Bridgewater Water Commission to order at 5:10 PM. Now that everybody's here,
We have a full board right now.
full board. You have the minutes of the previous meeting in front of you. Did you have any comments or questions for Kerry?
I read this last week. I'm good.
Mark?
Second.
Someone's at your door.
I hate Mondays. Motion made to accept the minutes of the November 17th meeting.
And seconded? All in favor?
Today's the
Thank you,
second.
Terry. You're right.
Sorry.
Wow, aye. All right, before we move on to the next thing, we'll make as we're doing our abatements this month, I'm gonna let people know, in August, we had a little over 400 people did not receive water bills this month, for that quarter. If you received a water bill this month, it has 2 quarters worth of charges on it, maybe interest and demand fees. We're aware of it. Kerry has went through all the accounts, figured out which ones they were. If you have paid it already, the full amount, you will be getting a credit on your next quarter's bill for the demand charges and for the interest fees. Interest finance fees. If you are going to pay it, you can either pay the whole amount and similarly you'll get a credit on the next one, or just pay for your basic and excess charges and it'll all be caught up. But if you start looking at it, you go to pay the bill and you realize something's off. We did get plenty of calls, well over 100 phone calls came into the office, and it's been taken care of. It was reviewed line by line through all the billing systems. They went out from the office here. We don't know what happened to them, why they didn't get to the particular houses. But it has been handled thanks to a bit of extra work that had to get put together for that, for Kerry, for the bills. Okay, and the next item, Mr. Hoyt from Tater and Howard.
So first we'll start with the Manley Street PFAS project. So things are underway. We were successful with loading the green sand media, and we're in the process of loading and conditioning the PFAS media. However, the water quality for the water we were using to condition was found to be not in the ideal range for the PFAS media. And so, as you know, from the demonstration study, we want to be careful about, caring for that PFAS media. So we did unfortunately have to pause that process. And what we're going to do is hold off on actually conditioning the PFAS media until our new Green Sand Plus system with the bag filter are up and running. That way the water we're using to condition the PFAS media will have that extra treatment. As you know, with the Manley Street water treatment facility down, the water in the distribution system is from the wells here, and the iron and manganese levels, they're not in a terrible place, but they are just a little bit higher than the quality control we want to use for the PFAS, which is part of the reason why we have a treatment plant coming at this site as well, is to treat for that iron manganese. But where we saw that iron corrupt the media in our demonstration study, we want to be very careful with our brand new PFAS media to not have any issues.
So did anything get run through that before we?
No,
So it was tested first and then it was run through the new media.
Yeah, so we thought maybe just running to waste long enough, we'd kind of flush out what was in the pipes, and it would clear up and be, good to use. But they were doing real-time sampling, and the iron numbers were just higher than the threshold we wanted for that process. So it does mean prolonging, unfortunately, the total schedule, but it's the right thing to do so we don't, foul the media. So we are looking at kind of prioritizing the work, getting up to the point where the bag filter is. And if you look at the schedule we put here, the next several weeks, it's essentially going to be cleaning up loose ends, the chemicals, feed systems, and then doing the performance testing of the green sand, so that when the bag filter comes in the middle of December, which is the date we've all, it was the same date last time I came and saw you, they're gonna hit that delivery date. So the idea is to get everything else up and running, so that when the bag filter goes in, we're ready to go with the PFAS. So, as you can see, the schedule, instead of being done at the end of December, is gonna be done at the end of January, and that's partially just because of the holiday. Adage was pretty clear that they're not gonna have technicians out Christmas or New Year's week to do this, so that, that's why you see.
So they're scheduled for right after New Year's.
So we told Bisco that they need to nail that down and schedule it, because when we had talked to them this morning, they hadn't actually nailed down Adage yet. We just know their availability from talking to them on site Wednesday. So Bisco's been informed that we want them to lock that in, just to make sure we don't want this project spilling past January. So Bisco is on board with the schedule. We typed this up based on what we saw left to do, and we sent it to Bisco, said this is what we're presenting to the board. Do you take any exceptions to it? And they said no, this is what they're working towards. So that kind of goes into the next page, which is just the budget update. No real surprises here. We're still showing, the engineering. I think last time I was here, it was $75,000 under budget. Right now it's $76,000 under budget, so that means, we spent less, engineering budget last month than we expected. And then you can see the change orders and contingency amounts are pretty similar. And the only change to the change order is that we've now moved the lighting switch and vessel upgrades into the spent column. So you'll see under change orders, we've spent that $63,600. And then the estimate to complete is still those time and materials items that they're working on. So the bag filter, which again, we believe will come in lower, and then the chemical pump signal wire, that one was a missing coordination between the electrical and the instrumentation needed. So that's also being done on a time and materials basis, and we hope it comes in a little under the 10,000. But just as a reminder, the change orders are being paid out of the ARPA funds. They are not being applied to the SRF loan. So when we step down to the third table, you can see the ARPA funds, what we've spent versus what is estimate to complete is still less than the ARPA funds. So we are still looking at a scenario where over $250,000 of ARPA is there to pay BizCo bills at the end, which would then further reduce the SRF principal, and ultimately reduce the rate impact compared to the analysis we did at the beginning of the project. And that's kind of shown on that fourth table, where you can see the loan amount is almost $500,000 less than what we anticipated at the beginning of the project, partially because of, savings in the project, but largely because of ARPA funds.
Okay.
So, again, nothing really moved one way or another crazy, but, the good news is, we're another month into construction without, we're still seeing the same projected savings on the project as last month. I'm happy to go into more detail if you want, but I guess any questions on that one?
Did we get a price back out of Ben to upgrade the?
So that's a good question. I was actually gonna talk about the next project, but this is a good transition point. So, I don't know if this came up last time I was here with the board, but it came up at a progress meeting with Wayne Art, ourselves and the contractor, where the new building and the new computer have to be Windows 11 compatible, because Windows 10 is no longer supported. So there is the potential for communication issues with the Windows 10 machines here, and then to a lesser degree, but still related, over at Manly. So the integrator for Waterline, who used to be the integrator here, had worked up a proposal to kind of upgrade all of this at the same time. The price was high. So we're not saying that we don't recommend going through with it, but one of the thoughts we had was, you already have an integrator over at Manly, who would be paid from ARPA funds, versus, using the integrator here, where it would be coming from a project where you have a funding gap between SRF funds and the total process, right? So, the impact may be different for you depending on where you go. So we had an initial conversation with Ben, who's the integrator over at Manly, and just said, is this something you could do? Is this something you'd be interested in submitting a proposal on? And he said he was amenable to it. So if that's something you would like us to do, we could ask them to do a proposal. It would accomplish two things. One, it would be a good check on the value that, Waterline is asking for that work. But it also would allow you to pay for the upgrades from the ARPA funds, as opposed to from the privately borrowed funds for this project. And just to kind of clarify what I mean by that, I just attached this last page. It hasn't been updated, which is something we'll start doing a full budget analysis for this project now that we're getting started. But this was just to kind of remind everybody where all the funding is coming from. So we have two appropriations, which is the 16.8 million, and then the project came in under the appropriation amount. But when you take a look at the funding from the Emerging Contaminants Grant and the SRF, there is still that gap of up to 3.1 million, which will have to be funded privately. So this is what I mean about the potential financial impact, because if you use contingency to pay change orders for the Sear Norman plant, it impacts that remaining amount to be borrowed. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that clearly?
Yeah, so if we use them for that extra, it's gonna be in the loan that we have to take, because we're already gonna burn up all the other funding, and we're gonna have to borrow some. If we can do it through Manly, the ARPA funds can be used to pay for it.
Right.
And there, where we can't bring the ARPA funds over to this project.
Correct. So if you guys are amenable to that, then we'll ask them for a price. And we do think it's something you'll have to do eventually. And now is probably the best time to do it, but we're asking you to spend more money when you're spending a lot of money. We understand that.
But would have to spend it by, from what I'm hearing, is would have to spend it by the time Sear Norman goes online anyway.
That would be our recommendation, just because you're gonna run into an issue here where it's just a security risk. Windows 10 is gonna stop being supported, which means it's gonna stop being updated, which means it's gonna not keep up with the new malware and viruses and vulnerabilities. So eventually your system would be at risk to attack. So, regardless of the upgrades to Sierra Norman, it really is something that, everyone's gonna be having to do, especially anything that interacts with the internet, or interacts, with critical, systems. It's something that's gonna be a high priority for the water department.
No, doesn't hurt to get a price.
Yeah, how much was that big number you said?
Came in at like 48,000, I believe.
I have a question.
Yeah.
From 10 to 11, why all of a sudden is this brought up? Like, you just started, like, soon as we handed them the job? Why wasn't this taken care of? Now the one up there is 10, so we have to change that.
So
And then this one's gonna gotta go to 11, so that one's gonna be 11. Why wasn't this wasn't just addressed, right? Am I saying this right?
So technically, the windows, the computers don't actually talk to each other. They operate through the PLCs, the programmable logic. They see each other.
I get all that.
Right.
But why wasn't this like?
It also, we're
This wasn't
isolated.
something that was, just happened tonight.
We don't see the outside world. We're kind of a unique system. We operate our own, the water department operates its own fiber optic network between here and Norman Ave and the lower part of Sear Street here. We use an antenna array to get to the rest of our spots. So we're not connected to the outside world at any point in time. So whatever happens out there, we're sealed from it. The only thing we do is print here, and I have a printer for it, so.
So what happens if it turns to 12? You gotta do it again?
It just keeps
And it just
happening,
keeps
but for the
going?
most part,
But usually
they would probably,
say, hey, in the next 6 months,
Right.
we gotta go to 11.
the integrator has pointed out that it may not work together, but they might work together. It's not, there have been times when I don't always update manually at the same time as I update the computer in here, and now there'll be a third one. There are times when they're not on the same operating system. Windows 95 existed up there for a long time after this one. I update them because they're about 20 grand a pop when I update them, so I can't do them all at once. So you do them from year to year, so they don't always have the same operating system. There is the greatest chance that they'd work together being different operating systems, but because there's the extra ARPA funds, now is the time to, and Ben has proven himself to be a really smart individual and a good integrator, just like Mike is himself too. But this way we can update those computers as part of the Manley Street project and put it on the ARPA funds, which we haven't been able to spend out yet.
Right, and so just to be clear, there is no change order needed for this new treatment plant. The new treatment plant is designed to have the Windows 11 system already. So this would be to bring this system and the Manley Street system up.
And Manley Street was in design before Windows 11 was
Yeah, and
an
we weren't
issue.
really touching the SCADA system there as part of this project. When that went into design.
What's that upgrade? What's that worth?
I'm sorry?
What's the upgrade worth to make Manley Street?
I don't know the exact breakdown. That's one of the things we kicked back to the contractor was that, they didn't break out their costs well enough. So in addition to getting, a second quote, we wouldn't even entertain what we got from them yet because the detail and backup wasn't where we needed. So I don't know if it was 50-50 cost-wise for here versus Manly. But I think the total was 48.
Good part of that cost is the actual GE software that operates the SCADA system. It's not the computer, there's no markup on the computer, it's bare bones, and there's time putting it in is minimal. The big cost is the software itself and the licensing involved with it. That's why when they, I buy them, they're standalone, so they don't see updates, so they can't get fouled out as they move along, and I'm not forced to keep upgrading every year. But because they run 24/7, I try to replace them at least once every 3 years, working through the system. so that I don't take a $60,000 or $90,000 hit in the budget year to replace 3 computers.
So the high number that was from Waterline was 48,000.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, ask Bisco, see what they do. I mean, we're not committed to doing it anyway if they come back with a number we don't like. But again, the issue with the ARPA money, anything we can do to we spend that, it doesn't affect the ratepayers.
Right.
So if it works out for time that way.
So I guess pivoting to Steer Norman, work is underway. If you can't see anything right now, but if you were to look up there now, you'll see that, the site has been cleared, the erosion controls have been placed, and they're beginning the excavation. The schedule's gonna shift a little. I'm thinking Waterline might bring it tomorrow to our progress meeting. There was a little, I guess, back and forth between the structural engineer and the contractor on the sequence of approving some shop drawings. I think, we haven't seen it before, but the structural engineer refused to approve the rebar until they got the final design calculations from the metal building manufacturer, because they recently burned on a project where they got a preliminary design for the metal building, and then when they got the final then that came from the sales team, then the design team gave them the final drawings, the reactions changed, and all of a sudden the foundation wasn't the right design for the building. Our opinion, that would be the contractor's problem if that were to happen, but you can imagine it's gonna be a headache for everybody, and so that's kind of their point of view was, we're not going to say that this rebar is correct until we know the foundation is correct, which we won't do until we see the final drawings of the metal building. So, Waterline had hoped to be out there doing the concrete work later this month, but it sounds like because they had to push the metal building, get that approved first, and then it's a 3-week lead time for the steel, so it's gonna push them back a couple weeks while they wait for the approvals.
How's it digging up there?
They've run into quite a bit of debris that needs to be removed, so they've been coordinating with Wayne to kind of get that out of the way. But in terms of, the soils, I haven't heard of anything being, unexpected. They haven't hit ledge or anything like that.
Or 30 feet of peat or anything like that.
Yeah, they already had to pull it all out anyway. The area under the building, they needed to go all the way down to native material and then bring in structural fill. And then similarly, underneath the stormwater infiltration basins, they had to do the same. Because we did know that there was some backfill. I don't think we understood the extent of, the debris, but.
How's the test borings?
So we did borings during design. They haven't done any compaction testing or anything during construction yet.
You do the test borings in the building?
Yeah.
And they came out all right?
Yeah, so again, part of our recommendation to go down to that native layer was based on the results of the boring. So we did the borings through a geotech engineer. So they hired a driller and then they did the soil borings.
The test borings?
Yeah, and then they did the geotech report. So the foundation design is based on the bearing, soil bearing properties that they found from those test borings. And that was all done during design. And from what I can tell, what they're seeing as they excavate is consistent with those test borings. Aside from, like I said, some random things that were, dumped over the years that Wayne's getting out of the way. And then the other thing I anticipate.
Just quick, that meeting's
Yeah.
tomorrow morning's 8 o'clock, right?
8 o'clock, yeah. Yeah, it sounds like we'll be in the garage again. One more
Get
time.
get the space heater going.
I think the other thing, we're expecting them to bring up tomorrow is just stay on top of response times on, RFIs and shop drawings. So we're gonna keep trying to do our job to get things to you early, and not have a million urgent things on your plate all at once. But I think those RFIs that are in your court will probably be the next thing they really push us on. And then we'll just keep giving you a heads up when it's a critical path item that we put into your court for review.
Yeah. I actually looked at some of the RFIs this afternoon that had just come through, and if they're gonna be wanting us to talk about changing certain items, they should be offering, giving us an idea on what it's worth to us, or to them, to make those changes.
Yep. Agreed.
'Cause I don't think we should spend our time kind of deciding if we wanna go down a path or not, and we already own what's in the spec. So I don't really wanna get into a position here of, well, they put out feelers without us having an idea of how much value they're willing to give back to us for making the change.
Understood. Okay. And then the other thing that came up is on the pay applications. So, I guess the first piece is DEP, how should I say this nicely? They changed their mind. So we were given direction in terms of what forms were required now versus what forms were gonna be required once specific materials were. They're now retroactively saying we should have done those forms for the last 2 pay applications. So we're working with Waterline to get that additional paperwork in. Waterline did send an email that they were getting anxious to be paid for pay application 1, because it's being held up because DEP hasn't released the funds yet. Did talk to them, they kind of backed off a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if they bring it up again tomorrow at the progress meeting that, they're looking to get paid ASAP.
So it's out of our hands though, it's DEP that's.
Well,
So-
we owe them the money,
Yeah.
whether we get the money or
They
not.
should get paid, they did the work,
Yeah, so they're.
sounds like a paper,
Paper problem.
Yeah, so it's
someone dropped the
under
ball.
Mass general law, they're supposed to be paid within 30 days. And from Mass DEP's perspective, their point of view is like, well, that's why we made you guys go out and get an appropriation, approve you have an appropriation. You can't blame us for them not getting paid. So you guys are just kind of caught in the middle. I do know the drinking water program does offer, short-term financing. I know at some point we need to go out for private
Why don't you
financing.
cut a check for them, we're good for it,
I personally don't have the funds for it.
I'm sure Mr. Data has it.
So just to, be aware, it's probably something that they'll bring up and,
Have you talked to Scott at all about where?
Were you in that email? They don't want nothing to do with it, because they can be spending, Waterline can be spending almost $1 million
Yeah.
a month. That's why we took the SRF, was because we don't have
Well,
that money.
we have to borrow enough to get the float one way or another.
Right.
So,
That would be telling Scott to go out and short-term borrow then.
yeah. I mean,
I
if
haven't
we're,
done that
if they're holding off pay app 1, still, right, we haven't gotten because there was an email that said we were supposed to have that October 28th.
yeah.
But they decided not to release that because they changed the forms.
And they also asked for a revision to a letter that we sent them back last October. All of a sudden, they needed that language revised.
Who didn't, am I missing this, they filled out paperwork
forms.
wrong?
Sounds like.
Who was
the wrong
that?
forms.
Who filled out the paperwork wrong?
So we filled out the paperwork in accordance with what DEP said they needed.
And they told you to go,
Sorry?
they told you to go, that's good?
Yeah,
And they changed their mind.
and different people started reviewing it, right? So we have our project liaison. I don't wanna throw anybody under the bus, but we ran into this with the appropriation, right? They made the town council
Yeah.
write these ridiculous letters because
We were hung up almost
they
6
changed
months
their mind
there.
last
Yeah.
minute. We almost lost funding because they changed their mind. So, I'll keep all of my thoughts to myself, but this is not the first time we've had an issue like this with them.
The $3.1 million grant too, I think that got rewritten 5+ times at their request.
Don't the town pay the bills and then the grants pay them?
Well, yeah, that's what it's coming to, is if,
But isn't,
what happened up at Manly is we were holding off and there was no, Bisco didn't have an issue.
Yeah, and
We-
the
And we
timing-
paid after we got reimbursed,
Yeah.
instead of floating it ahead. But water lines indicate they may not wanna do that, and they don't have to. You know, it's the
And
law.
it's because they're
I,
being burned on this
I
first
always
one.
thought the town pays the freight, then
Well,
the
that's-
grants takes,
That,
Takes it from
that
them.
is unless you just wait and the contractor's okay with it, which is what happened up at the
so
other
he's
project.
probably gonna say no.
Well, which means, again, we need to talk to, like I said, talk to Scott and figure out what we're gonna do as far as getting some, because now this, if we didn't have the October 28th money, that pay app one is
Yeah.
going even further out.
We shut off.
And they're already working,
No water.
And
Again,
they're already, submitting, we've already processed pay application number 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the next
Three's
meeting will
due in a
be
couple
on,
weeks.
there'll be,
yeah, three will be coming
there'll
shortly
be 2
behind
weeks
us. So
into
we,
that one, yeah.
so we need to come up with something that we can do a short-term borrow and get some money
Like
over to.
$20. Well, how you getting anything?
Pass the hat around.
I was thinking coffee.
He was supposed to bring the coffee because he was late. Yeah, we need to get that going because now that means it's gonna be probably 3 months by the time we get
Yeah, I
all
mean,
that,
it-
we get
it-
all
it-
that paperwork
Yeah,
going
cleaning up.
through
Well,
again.
You know,
Yeah.
the worst about that is the subs.
Well, that's right.
They're
Yeah.
gonna be,
Yeah.
they're gonna be,
Yeah, no,
They're
they,
gonna be
like,
steaming.
like you said, they're doing the work, they deserve to be paid. And since that's kinda got out of control with what we thought was gonna happen through DEP, because of the paperwork, we gotta come up with a different way. We'll get the money back anyway.
yeah,
It's not like we're not gonna get it back,
Yeah.
but we need to come up with a way to give them something up front. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that tomorrow morning in the
And
garage.
I'm sure it's gonna come up, yep, that's why I just wanted to bring it up tonight.
Good for it.
Should probably ask them how much what the actual charge is on the bill. It might be cheaper to
Pay
do
the-
that than to, yeah, is the interest rate set in the contract, right? Or is it?
I'm not sure, actually.
That's
I
probably
think-
1.5%.
I was gonna say, not that we would
Share
want to
rate.
do it that way. I'd rather have the
I
money
don't
to
think
pay
it would
them.
go that way, but there is a clause in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right, they're entitled.
Of course.
Yeah, no, they're definitely entitled to.
Um,
We got one from you.
We've never billed you interest. Never.
I just kidding.
Yeah, but I said, I did call him at the end of last week and just said, hey, it's the first pay application.
Yeah.
These things are always, work with us, and he's like, yeah, we're not interested in, he's like, we gotta understand, people are calling me asking to get paid too.
Yeah, he has bosses like everybody.
So they're doing a good job. You seem to be happy, right?
Yeah, I mean, they are pros, right? So, everything that, Visco was kind of seat of their pants, these guys are the opposite.
I just don't want them not to get paid, and then when we pay them, then they'll just start nickeling. You
Yeah.
know
No,
what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah.
We need to pay them. That's, again, it wasn't intentional, it was just, this paperwork
No.
and stuff has been crazy this time, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating from our end, right? Because you have to take. the
It's a
state
it's
agency-
a learning curve for us. I didn't know
Yeah, but
that.
hopefully,
I thought it
hopefully we
was,
won't have to learn
I thought it was
again.
funded, right?
So when do we think that they will be getting paid? And now that the new paperwork's gonna be submitted,
Well, it's the office.
I mean, how long are we? I mean,
Well,
we have short-term borrowing on
there
our
was
end.
some email from Patricia Arp about, I think it's pay rights 1 and 2, and it had to do with that form.
Yeah,
So it's almost $2 million.
No, it's not, it was pay
No.
apps 1 and 2.
Yeah, the
not-
first
Yeah, we're
one,
I don't know what the totals are on them.
Do you know the totals?
not off the top of my head, I can get it to you. The first one.
was all the
some-
bonds, that
yeah, it
was,
Oh.
just shy of $500,000, I believe. Like 460 maybe. Number 2, again, we hadn't hit $1 million, but I can't remember what that number was.
but if they're still waiting for paperwork that Waterline has to come up with,
So
To
we
put
sent,
in.
we let Waterline know today, you gotta fill out this form.
yeah, so that's gonna delay that even more, cause then it's gonna have to
They'll
get
be
to them, yeah, so we have to come up with a way.
We don't have to fill any
jump it.
paperwork out for DEP, right?
You're gonna have to sign it. I don't remember if it's an Art or a Wayne signature, but one of them's gonna have to sign it.
We don't have it?
What's that?
You didn't bring it with you?
We're waiting for water lines.
It's gonna go, yeah, it goes to Waterline first. Technically, Waterline's supposed to fill it out, but just to speed things up, I think we filled it out and said, look at this and then sign it and send it back. Then usually we,
Well, can we do that without a meeting? Can you, are you the signer?
If
yeah.
either one of us are the signers.
Right.
Do we have, all of us gonna sign it?
No, that's just the one.
So if he
signature on it.
brought it over to you,
Yeah. No, we'll
Yeah,
move,
it's not- it's not to a meeting.
we'll move the signatures along, all that stuff, as fast as we can.
It's not that, it's getting the state to send the money to us.
well, we wanna get the paperwork in as fast as we can for these
Right.
people.
well, and that's right, I mean, we're trying to show Waterline that, you know, we're not gonna be the problem, we're gonna be the solution,
Yeah.
so.
Well, we don't want it to be our problem, so let's just,
Especially what a way to start the job off.
Right.
We're 2 months behind on our payments.
you know, the guy's already putting his boxing gloves on.
Yeah, it's not a good way to start off. And they're gonna be going fast, so we're gonna have to be able to turn stuff around pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, they've
Which is
noted-
good, which is good for us, you know, they might finish earlier.
No, that's, again, it's a good company, they should be able, and their schedule is aggressive, the stuff that they put out there, so, you know, they wanna keep it moving. There's no, as long as we don't hit a supply chain issue or something stupid like that, we should probably have this done pretty well, pretty much under time, if anything.
Hope so, yeah, I mean, we have to just get this round of, you know, shops back to them, so
Yeah.
that any critical path items are being released on schedule.
And I told you, have Katie yell as loud as she needs to at me if I'm
Okay.
holding up on something, but I think I'm caught up on the stuff that was
Okay, perfect.
critical.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of, you know, at one point we had, you know, they had sent us 60 shops, right? So it's like, if you'd like to turn them all around in 2 weeks, but you can't do 60 shops in a week. So,
All right,
I think that's all I got. We'll probably learn more tomorrow morning.
I was gonna say, I'm sure that's gonna come up tomorrow morning. He did just send out, I think he's just sent out a new updated schedule, right? So I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I thought I saw that pop up in the 800 emails a
Okay.
week that come in. So they
It's
should,
a lot, right?
but they should have a new look, was a 4 or 6 week look ahead that he does.
Yeah,
So that should be there tomorrow to go over to.
yeah, exactly.
All right,
Yeah, it's another thing, right? It's like they just send them, whereas Bisco, we have to beg. Or do it ourselves and say, look at this and tell us it's right. So,
all right, well, we'll see you in the morning then.
okay, thank you. Good luck tonight.
See ya.
Thanks.
Unless one of you have any other questions, or
No.
Wayne, you have any other questions? for-
No.
Did you sign in?
I did, yeah, it's
Okay.
over here. You did, yeah.
Thank you.
Next board meeting will be the first
Yes.
Monday of.
December 1st actually is the day.
Oh,
It is? Okay.
I'll plan to attend unless you tell me I'm not needed, and then we can just kind of go from there.
Yeah. We'll see how things go.
Very good. Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.
Right, next item on the agenda, the metering system.
All right, so last week, I'm sorry, I was really sick sitting here, so I just let whatever played out. Not that I'm important, but I still tried to make sure I was here. The meter in question last week, without a doubt, the water that was on that register got used. The problem is that the meter and the transmitter came out of sync. How that occurred, I'm not sure. It did worry me that that happened because that's one of 2,800 plus meters in town, and the fact that it died earlier than it should have. So I've been in communications with the people that supply our badge and meters, squawking at them. The meters are warranted. We're gonna start sending them, as we change out the meters, we're gonna start sending them the meter transmitters with serial numbers so they can start seeing whether they're under warranty or not. When I take the time to calculate somebody's bill, I spend a lot of time to make sure that what I put out to you guys was correct. At no time am I ever gonna screw over anybody. I have to go back to science and figure out facts and figures and see what occurred. So what I set for them for a bill was a correct bill. If anything, it was under, because I could see periods of about 7 years where the transmitter and the register had probably come out of sync, but there's no way to tell because the thing's dead sitting here. If you don't believe in the metering system, then now's the time to speak up, because we're about to put $1 million into it. And this is the time when you hire an engineering firm to put out a bid spec and go out and get bids from all of the other metering companies. Badger's not the only one, there's Neptune, there's a whole pile of them that do the very same business that Badger does. But it's up to you, you guys have to believe in the metering system, because your friends are eventually gonna come before you for a high bill, and you need to be confidently sitting there saying that when somebody besides me is sitting here telling you, well, we can see that the meter passed through, the register says this, that you believe in it.
I think the question isn't do we believe the meter, the question is what happened to that, the way you got, that way that reading came out to be
So
so
he
far.
did explain what I forgot already, but the meter can, the meter can get plugged. And usually, in that case,
The
then
physical
the whole
meter?
thing stops
So
working.
the water not going through the
Right.
buckets inside the meter?
Yep, but it doesn't happen very often because they build in a screen to it.
Yeah.
Did that come on or no? There.
It's on.
And ours is a nutating disc, or nutating, whatever you want to say. But what happens is basically that it doesn't spin around, it just oscillates like a flying saucer. And you can see that that propeller is turning that magnet up there. That's what couples to this and what makes it turn. When that stops, then that doesn't turn and the register doesn't register. There is a screen built into the inlet, so that plastic piece inside is a machined piece. It lets a fixed volume of water go through as that thing does its nutations.
So,
Yep.
so what happens if you flush on a hydrant? Can something go that way?
Could you stir up dirt? Yes. That's why they have a screen in it to
It's
stop.
pretty like flimsy in there, right?
It's plastic.
Yeah.
It's not flimsy. It is a beefy piece inside of the brass container. The brass is actually just a container.
But
For
I'm talking about that gyro on the top there. It's
It's not flimsy. It does not let water go by it without it turning around. But it can.
could it jam it?
It could get jammed up over time with the iron, manganese, or
Yeah.
other stuff.
Well, we
Big
just-
particles can't get through it. I could go and grab one and you could see there's a literal screen on the inlet side of that meter to prevent stuff from getting in there and jamming it up.
So the screen should clog and they not get enough
Right.
water pressure before anything happens
Right.
to the meter.
And I don't think we've ever really seen anything like that. In the case, what we did see, the meter stayed running, but the transmitter wasn't, as that thing spins, it wasn't getting the signal up to it to say, you know, we just added another cubic foot. And it happened over about an 8-year period before the thing finally just decided to die.
Can the screen?
Can the screen get plugged?
No.
Yes.
And it would deflect
Right.
the water flow.
No, I've never seen one, and trust me, I've been here through one metering, actually multiple remetering cycles. I've never seen a screen rot. I've seen them kind of scrungy looking where you want to make sure you have gloves on when you're touching them, but water is still passing through. What we usually see is that if the thing gets plugged, we'll see it on no reading thing, and that's when we go out after it. It'll keep it's transmitting to us, but it's saying they have 0 usage.
So if that disc isn't moving, it's still regular, it's still showing notice on the.
It
on the
won't,
actual-
no, it won't show up, because you saw that propeller was
Yeah, but so if the propeller's moving,
but the propeller can't move unless that
but how can the
nutating
rest
disc,
of, how can the rest of the rest of the
it
gauge
can't,
work?
that's what
So
the,
there shouldn't be any flow at all, so they shouldn't, if one's not working, they both shouldn't be working, right? I'm just
right,
trying to,
they don't work. So this won't move
right, unless
if that other part is moving below it. So when they plug, that's when we get a 0 usage, and that's when we,
But we're spending all this money on the cleaning up this in Manly and here.
right, so we're gonna
So you
clean up
should
the
have a
water.
lot of correction.
Right, well, there won't be correction, they're not really plugged,
But
but they can get
your lines
dirty,
will be a lot.
they can pick up slime along the way and slow down a bit. Everybody thinks that an older meter, oh, I'm losing money, you're charging me more.
The
No,
other way.
it's the other way around. A brand new meter is dead on accurate. It's, you know, it's within 1.5%.
Not even one. I
think you should, get a bunch of prices, sub it out, right? You should.
Yeah,
Well,
but
they're all-
So
they're
once
all
again,
work-
that's when you hire an engineering firm to write a bid spec, and then you
Well,
have,
why wouldn't we do that?
you could do that, and you're gonna spend, I don't know how much in engineering money to do that.
Well,
That's
it-
fine, like, if you don't believe in this system, they're all the same system, even Neptune, if I bring up Neptune's meter, it looks exactly the same. They're the same internal parts. The only time you get is when you go to an electronic one, which I wouldn't want it, they go to digital LCDs, so the last transmission you get is the last reading you have. But they're like a mag meter, they're reading, so if you have dirty water, you could clog up the electrode and it might not work as well. They make them, so they must take a lot of abuse before they decide not to work. I wouldn't recommend going to an electronic meter with that kind of reading.
So, the meters we have,
Yep,
if they're Neptune, we just call the guy up that owns Neptune and say, send us $1 million worth of meters, and we buy them?
well, you bid out at whatever. Right now, we're buying them at cost. So we know that over the next 5 years, we're gonna spend
But
almost,
we're spending $1 million.
yes.
So, why don't we just check our money? Why don't we send it out?
You can.
And
I can also tell you that Badger, where Oz has the brass case, Badger also makes it in a plastic case. And you save a whole pile of money the minute you go to that plastic
Yeah, but you
case.
gotta do apples and apples.
They're not, so a lot of them aren't. The Neptune one, and I don't have it on the screen, but the Neptune one I believe is a brass base also. But they also have just the same, they have all plastic bodies. A lot of them have gone to plastic bodies, which can deform with cold and heat. The brass body protects that inner plastic piece.
I thought you would have to send it out after a certain amount of dollars. It's gotta go public.
It's
Unless you're buying $3 worth each time.
Well, I am gonna go before we have to move money into an article to fund it. So we will be going before the town and saying that, we're gonna fund a metering program. Because I've spent out we had 2 articles that had small amounts in them, we've spent them out already. So I have to keep track of how much I have, I can't keep buying meters against my budget, cause it's a bottom line budget, but I've got other things going on besides meters.
Yeah, we've had Badger meters forever. And
Badger meters have been
technology's
here
same
for the
between Badgers and
20
Neptune.
Right, they are exactly the same, they just transmit a little differently.
Just make sure they're Windows 11, okay?
That,
I don't wanna hear that on the
You had
next
to come
meeting.
up with that one.
yeah, the one,
And I don't know anything about computers.
Windows.
Or Windows.
Windows.
Sorry, Wayne.
no, it's fine, I don't,
No, I mean, that's what's in most residential meters.
Right.
That's it, all over, that's basically the standard for those meters.
right. And it's just whether you do the cellular part of it or you do the other thing. What I don't like is they only have 90 days worth of the data in their current meters. And maybe they'll eventually hear it and increase that. In order to get an increase, you have to go to an ultrasonic meter, which I wouldn't recommend.
If you have a meter at someone's house and it's broken,
Yep,
does it come to you guys?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it'll
like
show up
no
as a
zero
zero
usage.
reading.
Usually it's a
Yeah.
zero usage.
yep, it'll say 0 usage.
So if I took my meter off my house, would you know?
Yeah, it
Yes,
comes
we
as a
know.
tamper.
Huh?
It would come out as a tamper.
I'm just asking, guys.
Or they'll be right out front with a
You shut the water
valve key
off.
shutting that down.
The last thing I ever want to do is turn anybody off. I mean, somebody did ignore me through multiple mailings.
But that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, no,
every
it's,
stitch of water's going.
how often do you get, like when it does a zero usage, That's not just at the end of the billing cycle.
They read them once a month.
Yeah,
And I
so,
go reports, I look at them once a month.
yeah, so we'd know before, it's not, we wouldn't lose it for a whole quarter even.
No.
We know,
We
Now,
know,
you know
we know at
that,
least
that
every
first
month,
month,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we know in the first
I mean,
month.
we bill quarterly, but they
Yeah.
do, and actually with the meters that are like dying out, they just started, I think, this month, reading they're gonna read the 15th and the end of the month.
Right. We
Just so we don't get behind. type
Yeah,
thing.
the only thing is if the things are failing before they're supposed to.
Right, and that's why
There's
I'm
a
gonna start
warranty,
sending
so-
them in, we're saving them all back, I'll start bucketing them up. I'll ask them if there's an easier way for us to do it for them, because they have to type in each, they've gotta pick them up and type off, there's a serial number on each one of these, and that's what they're gonna insert to see when it was born.
You just keep moving forward and we'll keep our fingers crossed with it. I mean, I don't, they are basically the same meters,
Yeah.
Right, they're,
whichever one you go
When I
with,
looked
so.
today, I picked Neptune because it's another known meter, it's.
Well, they're in
another-
Massachusetts too.
Yeah,
Seacon, Sudbury.
yeah.
how many meters are there?
So we probably have somewhere between 2,700
No,
and
no,
20.
the names, the brand names.
Oh,
Neptune,
I don't, I just know those two. After that, there are quite a few out
Yeah,
there.
the other ones are the plastic, I've seen the plastic
But they're the
bases.
plastic, you go to
Yeah.
end up with plastic
And
bases
if you
and
cross the,
plastic,
across the tail pieces on it.
right,
you
and
screw
they're
it.
all LCD, so,
Yeah.
and you're dealing with cellular charges, which currently you avoid because we do a drive-by. We do a drive-by system.
And digital's no good?
So digital is fine. The last reading you get is the last reading you have. So,
But, am I correct here, if the meter stops, don't you get notified?
Yeah, but
I-
if someone were to call because they use so much water, we probably couldn't go back and track it 3 months, cause that last
More than
reading
3
was the
months.
last
Right.
reading.
So if the meter shuts off, it's gonna go for 3 months before you,
no, we'll see it in the
Wait a
next
month.
reading.
Yeah.
We'll see it as a,
So what
either it
happens is
doesn't read,
sometimes people, they get like a big bill, and they'll say, what, you know, and I'll have them look at the bill, and I'll say, you know, when we got the last reading on October 17th, it said 6,000. Then I'll have them, you know, go downstairs and see like what their reading is, maybe it's like 6,700, but if it's at like 8,000, we send the guys out to do what's called a leak detection. So they have this thing that hooks right up to the meter, and it pulls in all the readings, but it goes back 3 months, the time of day, what day, how much water is being used. I think if we go to the other one, it just stops at the last reading, you can't gather all that information.
no, like we can drill down into, when we go in that 90 days, we can see right down to an hour.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, in general, they've been working well,
Yes,
but if they, you know, it would be nice to see if there is an issue with it dying earlier.
Right.
We know ahead of time.
And these meters that are dying out have been, they're like from 2011.
But they're a 10-year warranty, I mean, they're a 10-year battery on them, so that they should.
so it's a 15 to 20
Oh,
year,
it's
and I
gone up?
think the warranty ends at
10
15.
years.
So,
It's a long time for a battery.
right, and I can see from the bid package that they had that we began about 2010 installing these meters.
So we're like red line right now.
Mhm.
Yes, that's
Coming
why,
right on it, that's why we're getting into the replacement.
Yeah.
that's why we need to transfer funds to begin funding the program. And then setting a schedule so that it's spread out over 5 years. You have 5 techs, but we're gonna have 2 treatment plants now, so you're gonna eat up a lot of our time with the treatment plants.
How much time does it take to do an install, to swap out the old one?
So when
for
we
the
were
new?
doing the old ones, we were doing them like 30 minutes apart, but you couldn't be, and we had 2 teams, so we were doing 14 meters a day, but you couldn't be allowed a hiccup. If something went, if the shut off didn't hold and you had to go out and shut off the curb stop at the street, then you had a hiccup and you got behind. So we ended up spacing them out, but we had so many that weren't working that, you know, I needed to expedite it.
Well, they were working in the basement, we just
Right,
weren't getting.
the mechanical register kept, the problem was, the notice I sent out was that the meter wasn't working and people wouldn't let us in because, oh, well, it's
Free
not
water.
working, it's free water. The problem was, it was working, and that's, you know, when somebody jumped on that coattails, and Hey, everybody's getting high bills. Yes, because they're not letting us in to change out their meter. And most people, the minute we send them a card, they let us right in. Just like the gentleman that was here last week. He was really good about it,
Oh, he was
and he
awesome.
let us right in.
Yeah.
But I had somebody on the other side of town that I've sent multiple notices and was about to come before you for termination. And he's also a great guy, but he just wouldn't, for some reason, he just thought he could kept ignoring the notices. Well, we send out the notices for a reason.
Was that because the meter, it wasn't transmitting out? The meter was running, but.
It just wasn't transmitting correctly.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
Should be getting a little low.
I am. I turn into a different guy.
Great.
It must get nice.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on that, Lynn?
No, I don't have anything more.
And you're gonna be getting, you think, looking for, to go to town meeting next, it's the special that'll come up around January? I think
No, I won't need it until
Won't,
May.
won't be,
I-
all right, till the regular town meeting.
Yeah.
All right, anything else under new business to go over?
Onward.
Okay, well, old business will be quick, there's nothing about that I've seen at this rate about the contractor's yard at Matfield Street. And with everything else, I haven't had a chance to go over anything with
Yeah.
the job description for that. So, unless you have any other old business or you would
I
like
do
to
not.
bring up?
Next meeting, this Monday, December 1st.
I was gonna say, I thought we did that, but that was just telling James.
Next is motion to adjourn.
And like, so John, you're gonna put this, like, one down so you,
I had a busy
No.
day.
every day's a busy day.
Wow, December.
December 1st,
Ooh,
5 o'clock. All right.
Dated.
And if nobody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make the motion to adjourn at
I
6:10.
second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Negative.